Have you ever wondered who trains the people who train leaders? How do you prepare your startup business idea for investment people and in panels like the Shark Tank TV? Today's guest could have been still swanning around the Barrier Reef or being paid to travel and live in the exotic Middle East. Instead, he has left the luxury corporate lifestyle to assist and inspire other trainers to use the very skills that they teach. My guest, Brett O'Connor, gives us clear training tips for real-world business skills. Please join me in welcoming Brett. Hello Brett, and welcome to The Point TV this evening.
Thank you, lovely to be here.
So you were talking to me just before about living in the Middle East, and you had a funny story about that.
Well, it's strange coming back. You sort of get used to the unexpected over there. So it's a case that when you see things like in the Fast and Furious movie where they jumped a car between three buildings, not the strangest thing I've seen done with a car in the Middle East.
So you started up something like a pilot program for trainers. Can you tell me about that?
What we do is we started up a program to get professional development and train trainers so that they can update their industry currency and they know what's happening out there and the skills that they need to pass on to people that want to learn how to do things like start a business.
And that's a niche area, is that right?
Very much so. It's something that's very new, and we find that trainers that are involved with business startup tend to still be working in the industry, so not necessarily working for registered training organisations that issue the qualifications.
And how did you come up with that idea?
Well, I was actually doing my own professional development, and I went into a couple of sessions with two of the sharks from the Shark Tank, and they were going through the skills that you needed these days to start up a business, either coming from having a product to sell or you've got a problem to solve, and that tends to be the main way to do it. And then that's what they call the business startup phase, getting it through to the stage where they come to the Shark Tank and they then look for investors.
So you've come from a background of working with registered training organisations in Australia, and I believe there have been some changes in the last few years. Could you tell me about that?
There has been some changes to the training industry as general, where they've had to go out and actually build stronger links with industry. Industry would complain that the training organisations weren't providing the skills that the trainers needed. So we actually went out and spoke to industry, found out what they were looking for, and then developed skill sets that we can help deliver to students.
And I'm really interested in those skill sets. So, for example, somebody who's going to go onto something like the Shark Tank, what kind of skill sets do they need?
First thing they need to have a clear product, work out what the product is, how they're going to sell it. Or if they've got a problem to solve, they need to work out their marketing mix, work out the product, work out where they're going to place the product, what price it's going to be, how are they going to get that product out to the market. Once they get to that stage, they can then look at how we're going to sell it to customers. And if you can sell it to customers, you're at the stage where you're ready to go onto programs like Shark Tank and get investors and move out of the business startup phase.
They seem to get really grilled on Shark Tank. They seem to have great ideas and then go in front of those types of panels. I think you were telling me about something called communicating with influence. Is that one of your skill sets that you do?
Well, that's actually one of the skill sets, looking at building a business. Once you get to the stage that you're on Shark Tank, it's not actually in the first year that a lot of businesses fail now. It tends to be in the second and third year where they start to grow the business. So, communicating with influence and actually building business connections, we don't call it networking anymore, it tends to be something that people struggle with in a lot of cases. So we were looking at going through a process where we're teaching them how to do that, and one of the things they need to do is they need to be able to communicate effectively. Now, part of my professional development for that unit was actually doing a course with The Point TV, which is presentation and interview skills, and that links directly to the unit Communicate with Influence and works in with the building business relations. So Gerald, you can send me the cheque in the mail later.
So after a business has started up, it gets into the growth phase, and I believe that's where lots of businesses fail. Is that true?
That's more the case. Certain industries are better than others. 75% of healthcare businesses actually last 4 years. But it comes down to strategic management and lack of cash flow is where they run into issues. Trying to grow too quickly, or they mix up their brand and try and take on too much.
So you've come from a really vast experience with business and of course working with registered training organisations as well. Do you have some tips to give us?
Well, if you're working for a registered training organisation, find out what you want to teach. If you're interested in it, it's not going to be an issue updating your currency, keeping up to date. The second thing is when you find out what you want to teach and what skills the industry need, you then need to look at what units you need to deliver and then work out what you don't know. And then the next step is go and actually get the training for that. One of the issues that you're going to find there is if you're going, you actually have to go to industry to get trained. The problem being, they may not want to train you as you're going to go and train their competition. So there's limited options, and that's where we've started to put people in connection with industry professionals that are actually willing to train trainers.
And so that ties back into the pilot program that you've set up, is that right?
That's right. So we are basically, it's a case that if a trainer doesn't update their industry currency, they could lose their job. And there's a lot of redundancies going on through trainers having to be replaced with other trainers with other skills. What we're saying is go through that process, do a training needs analysis on yourself, you do it with all of your students, find out what you need to know, and then go and do it. And you need to take the responsibility and do that yourself.
So what about trainers who've been training for a very long time, people who've been with, say, TAFE for very many years? Are they secure?
Not really. They're great trainers, but it comes back to their industry currency is where the issues are now. Now, the auditors are specifically looking for current industry skills and that trainers have updated their skills. So they may have worked in the industry 10 years ago. That's fine. There are ways to update your currency and there are ways to do your professional development. However, there is a certain way that you need to do it, and you need to follow the process so that you make sure that you are actually current and you can prove that you have updated. You can't just go and have a chat to someone.
So if you're going to sum that up for us again and just perhaps give me the number one best tip for someone who's working in a training industry and needs to update, what would you say the best thing to do would be?
Look at your interests, have a look at what you want to do. Because if you're trying to learn something and you've got no interest in it, it's harder for you. So have a look at what you want to do and really decide if you want to do it. It's something that you have to have an interest in it. Go out there, find the people. They are out there, and we've been putting people in contact with industry professionals that are willing to help trainers. They see it as something that they can promote their business as well. They promote their practices, but you do have to make sure that they are actually experts, and that's defined in the core skills for work. So trainers can look that up as well.
I love that. So actually following something that you're interested in makes complete sense to me. Yeah. Brett, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming on The Point TV, and I look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.